Speaking of powerful people, Bill Gates. Now, I openly admit I cannot stand this human being. I think he is one of the most vile, destructive humans and frankly genocidal on the planet, but that's my opinion. Does he fit into this puzzle somewhere? He normally does.
As always, yeah. Bill Gates gives, the Gates Foundation, I think, gives charity and philanthropy a very bad and very dangerous name, unfortunately. But the Gates Foundation, really, I would say, kind of carrying on the legacy of Bill Gates's business endeavors as the founder of Microsoft, which, believe it or not, Microsoft actually created Windows China Government Edition. So they actually run the technological infrastructure that the Chinese Communist Party uses to administer their country. But the Gates Foundation has really been, I would say, in the last few years, increasing the amount of money that they've been giving to Chinese state-run entities to fund what they euphemize as, philanthropic ventures. A lot of this being in the sector of healthcare and pharmaceutical industry type grants. But most recently, even just yesterday, I reported that the Gates Foundation gave nearly $500,000 to a Chinese Communist Party run university that is very closely linked to China's military to help it become sort of a global hub for manufacturing healthcare products for the entire world. They also recently gave a grant to the Clinton Health Access Initiative to help create China as a more kind of, I would say, manufacturing base for pharmaceutical drugs and healthcare products. And what's so crazy about this is that they really say the quiet part out loud. If you read the grants and you read the subtext, the Gates Foundation is very open in their mission to make China kind of a hub of biopharmaceutical engineering and the manufacturing of healthcare products. They've also given grants to organizations very closely tied to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and have given millions of dollars to fund scientific research in China since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, which, if we learned anything, it's that, we don't want any dollars, let alone U.S. tax dollars, let alone Bill Gates's dollars, anywhere near the hands of the Chinese Communist Party.
China getting involved in our elections? I mean, I'm only assuming if they're that involved in our society, they're going to try to stick their nose or have stuck their nose in our elections. What are we thinking for the midterms?
Well, unfortunately, the answer is yes. We reported yesterday that a group known as the Carter Center, named after, of course, former Democratic President Jimmy Carter, which not only has been partnered with China's Ministry of Civil Affairs on election administration in China, but they've actually accepted funds and have collaborated for decades with groups part of China's United Front, as I mentioned before. But the Carter Center is actually being brought in by a lot of swing states, primarily in Georgia, Michigan, Florida, Arizona, and North Carolina, to serve as, quote, nonpartisan election observers, whatever that means. But unfortunately, we've seen this type of, I would say it's information warfare, be used in previous elections. The Carter Center was used in 2020 during the Georgia election audits to say that there was no fraud and to affirm Joe Biden as the victor in that state. So what you're seeing here is actors like the Carter Center really be leveraged by the mainstream media, by the establishment to pretend to be independent adjudicators of election results. There are the people who I'm sure coming up in these midterms will say if Republicans win, that it was only because of fraud. But in reality, I think it's important for people to remember that these so-called nonpartisan election observers are not nonpartisan, and nor are they, passive observers. They come from a clearly partisan group. Obviously, the Carter Center is left-wing, but also a group that has very, very concerning ties to the Chinese Communist Party. You can read the full report. It's too much to get into. I don't think we have enough time on warroom.org. But it's safe to say that the Chinese Communist Party is funding the group that is choosing the people who are going to be observing our upcoming elections.
Well, good. Well, at least it's only states like Arizona, Michigan, and North Carolina. I mean, we don't have to worry about them because they're not swing states or anything. Natalie Winters, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Come back.
Thank you.
Don't miss Jesse Kelly Breaks History, Che Guevara, the latest episode of a new series available now exclusively for First TV supporters. Visit the First TV app or thefirsttv.com to subscribe and start watching today.